It almost feels like everyone is stressed about money right now, whether it is your friends or your family or these random YouTube videos you're seeing pop up. And typically the answer is like, oh, you just need to budget better, or you just need a little bit more income and everything will work itself out. But I think those answers are a little too simple because when you zoom out and you look at how our life is set up in America, it almost feels like the average person is consistently being pushed into financial failure pretty much from every direction. And we're trained to want things before we're ever really taught how money works. It is like being thrown into the deep end without ever learning to swim. And when people are broke or living paycheck to paycheck, they take it as a personal failure on their part. But I don't think those people are failing because they're bad with money. I just think a lot of people are failing because they were never really taught how to manage it or how it really works. It is a systemic issue, not a personal one. So in this video, I kind of want to talk about two things. I want to talk about how, in my opinion, the American financial system is really set up to make us fail financially. And then more importantly, how you can actually start gaining some of that financial freedom back. And I'm not just going to sit here and doom and gloom you guys for 15 minutes. Even though those do better on the algorithm, I want to give you guys value because I truly believe whether you're 19 or you're 50 watching this video, you can be financially free at some point and it is never too late to start. So let's go ahead, let's get into the video. So for part one here, as young kids, right, we're all trained to want things before we really understand money. And you might be like, well, as a kid, how was I trained to want things? Like, that doesn't make sense. Well, I don't know about you guys, but when I was younger, every 10 to 12 minutes, something would pop up on the T. And that was a commercial. And when you're young, those commercials are all about toys and clothes and the newest games and the newest best snacks. And then as you get older, those commercials turn into social media ads. And it becomes about the newest $2,000 iPhone or a $70,000 car or a $500,000 house, whatever it might be. Anything that is going to make you think your life is successful. It is a constant bombardment of buy me, buy me, buy me. And what happens is when we're kids and we're consuming all of these commercials and we're seeing people buy stuff and we're seeing the happiness and the lifestyle it gives them, we're indirectly taught that spending money is going to equal more happiness and it is going to equal the life we want. And the problem is, most people are never really taught how to separate what they actually want from what they're trained to want. So what I mean by that is a lot of what we buy is not even about the item itself, it is about the feeling it gives us. And companies know this, right? So for example, you're never going to see a commercial where they're selling you a car and they say, hey, this is our new machine that gets you from point A to point B. Why would you buy that car? They're selling you on the status that car gives you. You see this a lot with cologne commercials. You see this a lot with watch ads. It is never just, oh, hey, this thing keeps time. It is, oh, if you wear this Rolex, you are now a, financially successful person in this upper echelon of people. And that is the first trap we all fall into. And this starts at a very young age. Because before any of us are actually taught how to build wealth, we're taught how to spend money like someone who already has all the wealth we need when we don't. We don't even know how money works yet. And that leads me into part two, because school teaches us almost everything except for how money works. And you guys know this, right? We go through school, we learn about algebra, we learn about photosynthesis and chromosomes and mitochondria, right? But then we graduate and we have no understanding of how anything works with our finances. We're never taught how credit cards work. We're never taught how taxes work. We're never taught what interest rates are, how to invest, how retirement accounts work. It is like we're being prepared for a game. Nobody told us the rules to. And then what happens is you go through school and then you hit 17, 18 years old. You're ready to graduate high school. And then everyone's looking at you to make the biggest financial decision you'll probably ever make in your whole life, aside from like buying a house. And that is going to college. And if you guys watch my channel, I'm definitely not anti-college, right? For some careers, college, you absolutely need to go to college for some careers. But the issue is a lot of people are pushed into college without any real financial breakdown. And when you sign up for a school, they're not like, oh, here's a financial advisor. Good luck, they say. Hey, we're going to assign you all this student debt and student loans. You'll figure it out later. And as you guys know, the figure it out later is probably one of the worst financial plans you can ever have. And for a lot of people, student loans are their first introduction into serious debt, because when you're 18 and you sign up for $30, $50, $80,000 of debt, it doesn't even feel real because it is kind of just on paper, and you haven't probably ever earned that much money yet. So people go in, they sign the papers, they go to school, and then they realize, holy tough. I'm $80,000 in debt at a 6% interest rate. What do I do now? And that is kind of the second biggest trap we go through in life, because now, cool, you have a degree, but you also have a lot of debt. And depending on your financial knowledge, you might not know how to start paying it off, how to start investing your money, how to start making your money work for you. And what happens is the school got paid, the lender got paid, the economy got another worker into America, and then you're over here kind of left to the side trying to figure out how the numbers work and how you're going to get ahead financially, because now you're $80,000 in debt. And we get sold, at least I did in high school, that you needed to go to the biggest school and the school with the best name and the school with the best program. But none of my teachers told me, hey, by the way, if you do that, you're going to be in debt, for the next 20 years of your life. It is a cruel joke, really. Aside from college, part three is social media is probably one of the biggest toxic financial drivers in the world right now, because now you're not just comparing yourself to people around you, which typically was the normal thing to do. Now you're comparing yourself to everyone. You start seeing people your age buying houses, or they're getting new cars, or they're taking these extravagant trips, or on the flip side, instead of spending money, they might be getting money. You might see people your age starting businesses or, getting 6-figure, 7-figure jobs, and it gets to you because you feel behind. And then what happens is when you feel behind, you start making emotional money decisions. So you'll overspend to keep up with people around you, whether that is putting yourself into debt, taking out loans, whatever it might be, and you end up upgrading your lifestyle way too early. And what happens is you start chasing that appearance of success instead of really building the financial foundation you need to actually grow your wealth. And that is exactly where this financial system wants you. It thrives on your insecurity and your desire to keep up. And what happens is kind of following this natural progression through life, right? Like we're younger, we're kids, we're taught to want things in abundance. Then we go to school. School teaches us nothing financially. Then we go into student debt. Then we go on social media. See how everyone's living their life. We try to keep up and we kind of realize like, damn, we don't really have that much money. So what do? We put ourselves into debt. And that is part 4, where in America, debt is everywhere, and it is not treated like a warning sign with your finances. It is treated like a normal part of life. Like if you're in debt, welcome to America. Welcome to the party, and people normalize everything, whether it is car payments, furniture, financing, phone financing, like finance your whole life, everything's going to be fine. And obviously, I'm not saying all debt is bad, like a mortgage can make sense. If it is reasonable, I know some people are very, responsible with their credit cards, take advantage of the cash back, whatever it might be. But the problem is a lot of, normalization with debt is sold as an emotional tactic to us because instead of waiting or saving or investing or being disciplined, we can have whatever we want right now. I can go online and buy something on my credit card that I truthfully can't afford, but my credit card is going to make it very affordable. So debt lets you live like you have a lot more money than you actually do. But eventually those bills are going to show up, and what is going to happen is all your money is going to get tied up into those debt payments, and you're not going to have any money to save for your future, to invest for your future, to take care of the things around you. And if you look at the country of America, we are so far in debt that me personally, I don't even think the people who are controlling our money will ever get us out of the financial debt we're in. And these are the same people that make up our credit scores and judge us on how much money we borrow when we're what? $40 trillion in debt. Now, the irony is not lost on me, and to make it even harder, the basic costs of living keep going up year over year. So rent gets more expensive, groceries get more expensive, insurance gets more expensive, and yes, look, you can budget, you can meal prep, you can cut the subscriptions, you can cut out the Starbucks coffee, but you have to be honest with yourself. A lot of people are not broke or living paycheck to paycheck because they bought coffee. Like buying a $7 coffee does not make you broke. It is you're broke because the fixed costs of life are eating people alive. Having a roof over your head is more expensive than it has ever been. Car payments, hugely expensive. Insurance, student loans, basic utilities and bills can really destroy someone's finances if they're not careful and if they're not saving, budgeting, or investing. And once your fixed living costs are too high, it becomes extremely hard to recover because you have no breathing room with your finances. And when there is no breathing room, one emergency will set you back for months at a time. And I don't want to sound like I have my tinfoil hat on here, but when you start putting all these things together, how from where, when we were a kid, we're taught to want things all the way till now, when no one's really there to teach you about finances. You start to see the bigger picture that America's financial system really benefits when people like you and me stay dependent on it, right? When we're dependent on a paycheck and dependent on debt and on credit cards and to our employers and dependent on buying things to feel successful, that is when the bank gets paid through and the lenders get paid through and the credit card companies get paid through and the student loans companies get paid through and insurance companies get paid. All these people are going to get paid while you just continue to lose money. And by the time all of that is done, most people are trying to survive on whatever's left over. And that is the whole point. The system does not need nor want everyone to be rich. It wants people to keep paying their life away, and it needs people employed enough to cover their bills, but stressed enough to keep working. And it needs people who are comfortable enough to keep spending, but also not secure enough to walk away from their jobs. Because truthfully, if everyone was financially independent and financially literate, the financial system we live in right now would fall apart. And that is how this dependency becomes control over us and our finances. It is a brilliant, insidious design. And then that leads me into the last part here of how this system's kind of set up to make us fail because retirement gets pushed on to all of us. But it is never explained properly, right? We're all told, hey, at 59 and a half, you'll have $1 million sitting in this account and you get to play with it. But then again, none of us are told how to actually get that money. So you hear words like 401k and you might be investing in your 401k maybe. But is what 4%, 5% really going to get you to $1 million? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on how early you start. You might hear about index funds, but what happens is the majority of people go, man, that stuff's way too overwhelming. I'm not going to deal with it. And what happens is no one ever explains anything to us when it comes to our retirement. So a lot of people, they fall into the trap of doing nothing, and it is not because they don't care about their finances, but it is because they're confused. And unfortunately, when people are confused, they kind of just delay it, kick the rock down the road and don't really act on it. And every year you wait to invest, you lose time. And time is the most powerful part of truly building wealth. And what is really funny about this American system is that it makes it so easy to spend money. You can go anywhere and spend money. You can sit in your chair at home and spend money. But they make investing feel so intimidating, like you need to be smart, or you need to have a whole bunch of money to start investing. So what happens is people delay it. But investing is just as easy as spending. Honestly, in 3 clicks, all of you guys could be investing right now. And then one day, we wake up, we realize that, man, we have years of catch-up that we need to make up, so, retirement, while it gets pushed onto us, no one actually explains it to us. Now that I've ranted for about 13 minutes on how the, financial system is set up to make us fail. The part that I really want to kind of hone in on is as the viewer out there watching this video. If you feel financially behind, or you feel like the system's against you, what can you actually do to get ahead starting today? So after all of that, right, the main question on your mind should be, damn, what can I actually do? And in my opinion, it is very easy to say the system's broken, and it is easy to say everything's expensive, and it is easy to say America makes it hard to get ahead financially. And a lot of that is very true. But at some point, right, you can't let that control your life. You still have to figure out how to move differently, how to take life into your own control. Because what happens is, a lot of people let that doom and gloom mindset run their life, and then they'll never get ahead because every single time they have an excuse for something. And I'm personally someone that I don't like to live by excuses, right? Because I believe I have full control of my life. So the first thing I would say is this. Don't rush into anything, right? If you want to get financially literate, financially motivated, financially knowledgeable, right? This might sound very simple, but it is one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make with money because they feel so behind that they try to catch up really fast.